Salutations, my friends. I hope you're all keeping well. As it's now some fucking Sunday during this lockdown. It's the 2nd of May, actually. Yeah, 2nd of May. So actually, I'm doing better now. I now know what date it is, and I know what day of the week it is. And that's a huge improvement on how things have been. So lots to talk about today. I got an offer from a software company to sponsor my videos, and they wanted to pay me €500 a month to say at the beginning of the video, this video is brought to you by such and such, the such and such brand for this, that, and the other. Firstly, it's not me. That's just not my style. It's tacky to do that. I just think it's fine. The tackiest thing to say this video is brought to you by, and it's just tacky. I'd feel like I was a prisoner of the thing. Secondly, 500 a month is not a huge amount of money for the audience they're going to reach through me, and also I wouldn't do it anyway, even if I had a million a month. A million viewers a month, and I do it for a fucking million a month. And I could just imagine like some software company paying me to say something, and then I'm going, I'm an achiever. I opened the jar. I'm an achiever. Changed the windscreen wipers on my car. I'm an achiever. Then talking about my alabaster buttocks or some shit like that, or insulting someone. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't be me. And it's just another thing too. Is a tech company, even if it's a small one, because it's the tech industries that we're now living in right now. A combination of the tech industries, both the biotech industries and the computer tech industries, software tech industries. Government bureaucrats and mainstream journalists have done to the world what communism and fascists couldn't. They've made it put us onto a global prison, and that's why you're locked up, because of soy drinking soy boys in some IT company. This is why Bill Gates is their front guy. This is who your prison. This is putting you're locked down now because of bureaucrats, techno geek nerds, and mainstream journalist alcoholics. The dregs of humanity, people who don't even live real lives, are dictating how the rest of us live. That's why we're locked down. That's why I can't go to Easter Island next month. And lots of you can't visit your friends and your families and do your own travelling because of these nerds. The unelected nerds, bureaucrats, and mainstream journalists have locked you down. These are the enemy. The enemy has never been more distinct than it is now. It's not a... they keep talking about hidden enemies. It's not a hidden enemy. It's quite clear. It's the Silicon Valley people, the biotech people, and the bureaucrats and the mainstream journalists. There's just no doubt about it. We have a very clear sight of who the enemy is and who our oppressors are. And that's one of the reasons. As soon as they said we are a tech company, not a hub and how I don't want any money. Now, yesterday, David Icke's channel with his million subscribers was taken off YouTube. Yeah, it's an absolute disgrace, but it's a private company, unfortunately, and they can take down anyone they want, me, you, anyone. They just feel like it. And that decision, I can guarantee you, even though a million people watch his channel or subscribe to his channel and hundreds of thousands watch his video, that decision was made by probably no more than 4 or 5 sci boys in Google. They're sitting around going, "Eat offensive," and that's your it's, your oppressor is not someone like Rudolf Hess or Joseph Stalin or Pol Pot. It's like a lame-o, pasty-faced, soy boy who has I'm having issues. And his wife, I'm having issues. He's offensive. That's who banned him, and that's who your oppressor is now. We always bear that in mind. Weak men are your oppressors. When the weak are your oppressor, you will always win in the end. Always. And that's why all those smear campaigns have bounced right off me, right back to the weaklings and the vermin who threw them at me, and they fade and rot into oblivion as nature intended. And so that's David Icke will become only more popular from this. I mean, he's on the cover of the BBC website nearly constantly now. So he has never had more publicity than he's ever had. So it's not like he's it's the weirdest thing. They're totalitarian and vicious, but they're also stupid. Always remember that they're stupid, and so they ban him off YouTube and Facebook. And the BBC, the second biggest media outlet in the world, plastered David Icke's face and name all over their website. That's his charge and charisma being fed right there and then. And of course, people will say, "Oh well, it's a blow against freedom." We don't have any freedom. If you haven't figured that out now, there's something fucking wrong with you. And they'll say things like, "Well, it'll only bring more people to his work." Nah, it won't. I mean, it will, I guess. But you have to remember that. Uh, look at TikTok, right? Now, say 700,000 people or a million are predicted to watch Ike on Brian Rose today, watching Brian Rose's ego go into the stratosphere. Now, there was a TikTok challenge called the PP challenge, where a guy said, "Film yourself pissing in your pants," going, "I'm taking the TikTok PP challenge, and peeing in my pants," and a million and 1.9 million took it up. And some of them, many of them, were grown men well into their 20s who are probably going to be the next CEOs of the tech companies who go, who did it. No, let the perspective of that sink into your world. That's what we're up against. These people will do anything the media tells them to do, including humiliating themselves forever on TikTok, pissing in their pants. Grown men. Just like the nurses doing all the TikTok dancing. TikTok is really showing you who the meat golems are. Basically, this is the great value of things like TikTok. TikTok makes Facebook seem like, the symposiums in ancient Greece, with the great philosophers talking around the table and the great scientists and mathematicians. That's what's out there in TikTok land. And these are the people who are putting up the profile pics saying stay at home and all this stuff. People who, grown men in their 20s if someone slags off Greta Thunberg, they'll go, "Leave that child alone, the science is settled," and then we'll go on TikTok and piss in their pants and film it and put it up on, video it and put it up on TikTok for the world to see. That's the human race today, okay? So let's talk about the David Icke thing, which you'll be all watching today on Brian Rose. Basically, the whole thing is a vehicle for the inflation of Brian Rose's ego. If you haven't figured that out now, you're retarded. You're as bad as the TikTok people. The way it's even built, Rose versus Icke, he's just using David Icke's, it's like an NFL, not an NFL, UFC type thing. He's just using David Icke's huge name, reputation, and audience to build his own profile into the next reality. And that's okay if he gets away with it, but that's all that's going on there. So those of you who are going to be sitting down going, "Die with the die with the riptoils," right? Those of you, those types. Unfortunately, David Icke, his heart is in the right place. I know he's a good guy. And I have nothing against him making loads of money. I hope he makes fucking millions for all the shit and work that he's put into it. I'm not a socialist. I think that making money is great if you can make lots of money. But, you get paid, you get good pay for hard work. That's what I believe. So he deserves it. But it's not, those of you who are going to be sitting there holding hands saying, "Oh, die with the die with those, save the world." He's not going to save the world. What's going to happen is nothing. Nothing. After it's over, The lockdown is still there, and the same people are still in charge. And the proof that it will lead to nothing is that when David Icke started doing this in the early 90s, we were incredibly more free then than we are now. So maybe there's an element of hexing there. David Icke constantly talks about how the elites are going to do this and the elites are going to do that, and so does Alex Jones. And guess what? It happens. Self-hexing. Just putting that out there, where if you practice mind no contact ever again, and you ignore them, well, you don't ignore them, you know them for what they are, you see them for what they are, and then you go back to playing video games, you go back to mowing the lawn, you go back to building your model train set, you go back to building your plastic models, playing your Warhammer games, and, kissing a beautiful girl. You just acknowledge it exists, but to sit there saying and getting all fired up about it, it's only going to make it worse, It's only going to make it much, much worse, because what you're doing is, just as there's an example of all the smear campaigns that have been run against me, what has it done? More popular now than ever. Pete, these are like kamikaze pilots who sacrifice themselves upon the charisma of their enemies, and this is the ones they seek to attack. And that's what, in many ways, David Icke and his followers are. They are sacrificing themselves on the temple of the Illuminati to make it more shinier, when the thing is to ignore it. Now, I like I said, I've nothing against the man, David Icke. I think his heart's in the right. I know his heart's in the right place, and he means well. But things have actually gotten much worse since he's been around. They haven't gotten better. Think back to how it was 20 years ago when we started. It was 25 years ago. We had much more freedom. We fuck all now. We're all locked in the whole world. We're fucking locked in our houses because of a handful of tech nerds in Silicon Valley, and alcoholic cokehead journalists, and bureaucrats who were never elected and never had a job in the private sector. Have locked us all, made prisoners of us all. This is the COVID-19 Soviet, with religion and everything now. They've got it all. They got it. They got their one world police state. They haven't lost it. They got it. And Mr. Icke and people like him don't offer solutions. They say one day the people will wake up and say how we've had it. And when the day comes when people will wake up, and that doesn't mean anything. That's the same old Messiah programming, that some kind of savior is going to come to save you. It doesn't work. The Messiah programming was invented to fail. Your job is not to save the world, and the world's job is not to save you. Your job is to save yourself. And I've always been telling you that. Just fuck them and do your own thing. Get on with your life. You'll do more danger to the control grid by learning how to paint and draw than marching in the streets. You'll do more danger to the control grid by saying, there's a bunch of fucking losers, and they'll have their time, they'll fall as well. And then going back to your, building your airfix model of a Spitfire, or whatever your hobbies are, or flower arranging, or needlepoint. That's the way. That's revolution. The act of, it's like Michael Collins said, our greatest weapon is our refusal. And that still holds true. That was a guy before he was 30 had defeated the British Empire when it's at the height of its power. Your greatest weapon is your refusal. Don't engage with the game, and start building your own reality. And that's what that's how Ireland became free from the British Empire. They said, look, we've been fighting them for years directly with soldiers, and we've always lose because they'll always have a bigger and better army than us. How can we just ignore them? And what they did was people wouldn't use post offices, wouldn't pay their train fares, wouldn't do lots of things, just wouldn't do anything. And in the end, the country became, and while this was going on, the IRA were killing policemen and killing anyone who was an agent of the government, assassinating civil servants. And eventually the country was unmanageable, and Churchill and Lloyd George said, oh, fuck it, just give them the freedom. And that's how you do it. That's how you do it. You undermine the state. You don't, the control grid, you don't, for me, if I was to come here and say, your biggest enemy is the tech field. And then I'd say, and this video is brought to you today by blah blah software. What kind of a cunt would that make me? So that was my little refusal. I don't need your 500 a month that much. I'll find another way to make it. And that's okay. That's the way it works, you know. It's like that's how you do it. And but don't have hope that it's all going to change and get better one day, because it's not. It's not going to happen like that. There's not. The savior programming is designed to fail. What you have is a war of attrition that takes place within inside yourself, where every little day is a victory, every little achievement is a victory. Okay, and if you live in fear of what the government tells you or anything like this, or are obsessed with news, you will always be a prisoner to it. And that's, you know, that's the biggest problem I had with David Icke, is that he's always pushing that fear button. The elites are this, the elites are that. They're just a bunch of inbred Prussians, and they were back then, but now they're just a bunch of tech nerds, soy boys. And yeah, it's a disgrace his channel was deleted, but he'll go on to BitChute and he'll be bigger than ever. And just like hasn't really affected Alex Jones, just go on to BitChute and have their own websites and do their own thing, and enjoy the publicity of being having shut down. And he's good at that. He's good at like milking that. So yeah, I'll give him that. I'll give him that. But yeah, I'm sure it'll be harmless. What the show today with Brian Rose, but I'm seeing people already there. I'm seeing them types already saying, posting on Facebook saying, today the world changes. This is where the point changes. You know, well, we had that with the People's Voice, and nothing came out of that. This is all about Brian Rose launching his ego into the stratosphere. That's all this is. Not about anything getting your freedom or anything like that. And the way it's been set up like a UFC event, I'm waiting. I won't watch it because I don't want to hear I don't want to hear David Icke saying the same things he's been saying for 25 years. His audience are like that because they're going to church, but and they want to hear the same mass every week. I don't want. I couldn't be bothered hearing that, and I couldn't be bothered. And I'm sure he'd be very good, not very eloquent like he always is, but I just don't know. I don't go to church, and even the graphics they're using, Rose and Icke, you know, it's like you know, the Rumble in the Jungle, like Trilla in Manila, and there's people sitting there thinking it's going to be like the salvation of the human race, and it's going to change everything, and we're winning in this stuff. No, we're fucking losing. If David Icke can have 1 million subscribers on YouTube and have his channel removed, that's not a sign that he's losing. That's a sign that he's winning. That's a sign he's lost. Sign you're winning is that they're afraid to touch you, and they have no power over you. And that's when you're winning, when they have no power over you. And yeah, they are panicking. There's no doubt about that. They are shitting bricks. There's no doubt about that. In certain, especially the ones that the COVID thing is, Sweden has been a weird kind of thing. It's hard to know if they let it happen for a reason, but it doesn't matter. There you can see there's an element of fear there. There's a primal fear. But what happens to an animal when it's wrapped back into a corner? It doesn't surrender. So remember, you're dealing with, even though they're all soy boys in the tech industries, they're operating and functioning from a psychopathic system. And a psychopath back into a corner will kill you. Will try to kill you. Come out smiling like a Cheshire cat and a fucking knife in its hand. And that's what they're like. And that's what they'll do. The best thing is not to try and back them into the corner. The best thing is try to ignore them. Now, if something like Brian Rose used his money, and I'm not putting down Brian Rose or anything like that. I don't know the man. He could be a really nice guy. I don't know him. I'm just going that this is the impression I'm getting. There's a big ego thing going on there. And I've nothing against the big ego thing if you're worth it. You know, like Bruce Lee and Muhammad Ali and Conor McGregor have massive egos, but they deserved it. You know, they deserve to have those massive egos because look what they achieved. But But it's, you have to be very careful getting all your hopes built up. And I know loads of them are. This is the day it changes. No, tomorrow morning it'll be the same shit again. You'll still be locked down and you'll still be eating fucking cheese for breakfast. And, that's it. But the best thing to do is, like I said, just ignore it. I mean, the fact is that if you were to gauge David Icke's success and Alex Jones, and I'm not just picking on him, Alex Jones' success, even my success and the little bit I've done, against the collapse of the control grid, we've generally been miserable failures. It's as simple as that. Although I've always told you never to take it on. Just understand what it is and then go no contact ever again with any pathological force. I've always told you that. And I'll always tell you that. So, but then, the ones that say we're going to overthrow, like Alex Jones, we're going to overthrow the elites. You don't overthrow the elites. And then, like I said, they're not elites, they're scum. But we're the elite. Now, my attitude would be let's just say they don't exist, right? Now, if you're in a situation where you're in a bad relationship, you're surrounded by people that are not helping you grow as a person, you're in a bad marriage, whatever, a bad job, what you do is you immediately begin an exit strategy in secret to get out of that and to move on to find new friends and new relationships, new jobs, new world. You kind of emigrate within inside yourself. And you do it secretly and you do it silently. You don't tell anyone about it. And then you just say at the last minute, I'm out of here. And that's what we need to do. That's what you should be doing. You should be individually saying, I'm going to do my own little thing to make an exit strategy from the control grid. I'm going to put up wind turbine. I'm going to put up to charge my 12-volt batteries. I'm going to put up solar panels. I'm going to plant a vegetable garden. I'm going to build a bookcase. And I can look at that and say, that bookcase was built by me, using my bare hands and wood. And at no point in the chain does anything to do with the Illuminati, who don't exist anyway, and the control grid became involved in it. They didn't stop you from using a hammer and nails and screws and a screwdriver and cut wood with a saw. They didn't stop you from that, so you won. You got a victory. It's the little things like that. And if all of us did something, not even all of us, if large numbers of us lived like that, then they would just be like the father, the abusive father, who's all their children just ignore him in the end and he dies alone. But to sit there in the family saying, our father's a tyrant, he did this, he did that, he did that, he stops me from this, oh God, I've been ruined, I can't. He'll always be the tyrant father. But if you emigrate with inside your consciousness and begin living as if they don't exist, then you will find the power of the five-sense reality crashing. So that's the thing with David Icke. He talks about everything, we're living in a five-sense reality and none of this is real. And then talks about the control grid and the oppression as if it is the most real thing there ever was. But that's all he's doing is reinforcing it. He's gluing them subatomic particles tighter together. And then he'll say, well, one day people will at the bottom of the top of the pyramid. Okay, there's another thing he says. You have a pyramid, right? And we're at the bottom. And the bottom is the foundation of the pyramid. And if we remove that bottom, the pyramid collapses. Well, there's already a hex in that. For first of all, you're at the bottom of the pyramid. You've been told you're nothing, okay? Sorry, motherfucker. I'm at the top of the pyramid. That's how I feel about myself. And that's not bravado or that's not like ego. I'm up here. That's me up here, okay? So don't put me down here. Don't tell me I'm a slave. I'm not a fucking slave. I'm here, okay? And that's already a self-hex. That's desperate. You're already. It's the old socialist thing. The workers and the proletariat and all the crap to make you know your place. The peasant. I'm not a fucking peasant. And neither are you. You're not at the bottom of the fucking pyramid, you're at the top. Even better still, you're not involved with the pyramid. It doesn't exist. That's why you're all afraid of a single eye or this shit and all that crap. It means nothing. Just symbols, means nothing. And yet, there you go. There's your freedom right there. I just freed you. You will listen to David Icke and Brian Rose talk today about the control, the police state and all this stuff that will get you down. And then he'll say something like, it takes us to, well, all we have to do is rise up. He won't give you your freedom tomorrow. I gave you your freedom right now. I didn't even give it to you. I showed you how I do it and how you should do it. Be in this world, but not of this world completely. Be a consciousness insurgent. That's all it takes. You wake up with a smile on your face every day, rather than waking up and seeing a fucking all-seeing eye at the top of a pyramid that doesn't exist. How would you want to live? How do you want to live? And when I hear stories that there's been huge amounts of donations to London Real, and it's like, what does that achieve? What have you done with that money? Pissed it away. You should have kept that money and spent it on hobbies. You should have kept that money and spent it on seeds for your gardens. You should have kept that money and spent it on DIY stuff. You should have, and if you didn't need the money and you're rich, you should have given it to someone who hasn't got money and needs money. That can actually that wants to do something like that. Who wants to make life more interesting for other people. And and people that have no money will have sent that money to them. And that's their own business, what they do with their own money. But if they think that's going to achieve anything, they're not. They're completely wrong. They pissed that money away when they could have used it to make themselves truly free. And that's what this is all about. It's personal sovereignty. So look, I'm like everyone else. I'm stuck here until at least mid-August. I can't even see my friends down the road to play music with them because they're over the limit, and they'll be over the next limit of 20 kilometres. I can't even go see them then. But I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying myself. I'm doing my thing, having my hobbies, doing a bit of DIY, doing an awful lot of reading, having a crack with my friends on Facebook, having a crack with you guys here. What's the problem? I may be a prisoner of a political system, a bureaucratic system set up by soy-boy tech heads and alcoholic scumbag cokehead journalists, but I'm not a slave. Because there's a difference. There's a difference between being held in confinement and being a slave. I'm not a slave. I'm doing my own thing within whatever the demarcation lines that I'm given. There's 2 kilometres I have to live in now for the next month, and then 20 kilometres after that. I will find many great things and have many great fun in that 2 kilometres. And then through this beautiful medium here that was invented by 2 young lads that was unfortunately taken over by Google, but what can you do? I can reach thousands and thousands of people around the world. You can reach me. And that reminds me of one more thing. I am getting unbelievable amounts of emails and messages right now. Like, I love you all for them, okay? I can't answer them. I just don't have the time to answer them. I read them all. I appreciate them all. And thank you for them, but I can't answer them. And I especially can't answer anything that has a problem. Can you help me with this problem? I can't live. I can't do that. My life can't function like that. I can't do that. I don't have the time or the space to do it. This is what the most I can give you. And please enjoy that. And send me a message of thanks. Thank you. I appreciate it, but I can't write you back an email. I just haven't got the time. But from my heart, the gratitude is there. I'm feeling love like I've never felt before from my audience, and I'm giving it back, because ultimately that's what it's all about, the love. But the love of self comes first, and when you're obsessed with a higher power dominating you to the point where you recognize that it exists, you know that it exists, but if you're obsessed with it to the point where it's controlling your consciousness, it's not good. You have to break it. What you do is you walk away and do things in your mind. If you're locked in a prison cell, you go away into places inside your mind. As long as you have an imagination, you'll never be a slave. Always remember that. And so enjoy the rest of your day. And feck with the tank, take a joke. And remember that that song is in your heart. The only person that can stop that song from singing is you, no one else.